Hello again. Today I'm going to cover the third series in my description of the class I have coming up. But this is also a standalone video for anyone who wants to understand how to change your frequency. So, a couple videos back, I talked a lot about frequency and how different frequencies attract different things in our lives. So, today we're going to talk about how do we change our frequency. And in this class, we are going to learn about frequency the first week, do an RTT session the second week so that we can understand where our limiting beliefs and the way we feel about ourselves comes from. And in the third week, we're going to start unraveling that so that we can raise our frequency. Now, how do we do that? Well, what determines our frequency is really our emotional hygiene. I guess I would call it emotional hygiene. Now, where does that come from? Well, that comes from these old patterns that we've discovered in the RTT, and it is a way that we feel about ourselves. And all of it is determined by emotional blocks within us, within our psyche. Now, I like to think of the emotional system just like our digestive system. So, on the physical plane, our digestive system works in the way that we take in food, we take what we need from the food, and then we let go of anything that is not needed and it flushes through the body. Well, that is exactly how our emotional system works. We take in things, we have experiences in life, and they cause us to have emotional responses. But the problem is in our society is that emotions have been demonized. We only want the good, pleasant emotions. We want to feel joy. We want to feel happiness. We want to we chase all of the good emotions, and what we consider bad emotions like sadness, anger, shame, guilt, those we want to stay away from, and we consider those emotions weak. We consider those emotions unwanted, and obviously when you look at the frequency scale, you can see that those emotions hold us in very low frequencies. But what people tend to do is they tend to just bury those emotions, right? We just keep them down. We don't want them. And so we just build walls around them, we encase them. But if you think about your digestive system, if you took all the toxic waste in your body and you just pushed it down and buried it and you didn't want it to release, then your body would become toxic in a couple of days. Well, luckily, our emotional system doesn't become toxic in a couple of days, but it does become toxic over our lifetime. And that's what leads to dis-ease, which is disease, which is dis-ease. It's lack of ease. Well, lack of ease comes from repressed emotions. So, in order to start raising our vibration, we have to start getting back in touch with our emotional system and relearn how to release all of this toxic emotion that's inside of us. And that's not always fun. That is where we get into being uncomfortable, where we get into really being honest with ourselves, and we start to let go of some of this old garbage that's been living in there for a really long time. And there is nothing that is more liberating and frequency changing than this. But it takes courage, it takes guts, it takes being brave. And that is why having a group of people where you can work together and support one another can really help, because you understand that you're not the only one going through this. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand here, too, is that certain emotions have been allowed in our society based on gender, for one thing. Okay, so women are seen as cry, it's okay for women to cry. We understand that women cry, but women are really looked down upon when they're angry, and they have a lot of really strong powerful emotions. It's like women can have weak emotions, but powerful emotions are seen as ugly, bitchy, just really unwanted, especially in women. And then in men, anger is something that's more accepted. It's just something that society, if a man is angry, then he will not get the label of weak or some of the really derogatory emotion or words that are used for a man who is uh, very emotional, who cries a lot and things like that. And so we have to understand that these emotions that we are more comfortable with, we may express more, but what's underneath those is usually the opposite emotion. So women will cry and cry and cry about a situation and they won't feel any relief. It will be like they can cry and cry and nothing feels any better. Well, that is because it's not sadness. It is anger. It is something else besides sadness. And because we don't feel comfortable with that, we just sweep that under the rug and we just keep trying to cry out anger. But each emotion has to be expressed in a certain way. And if you want to learn how to express emotion, look at children. Children come in cable wired with their emotions intact. And unfortunately, we as children and all children get those emotions suppressed right from the start. Even babies, when they come in, it's like we don't want them to cry. We want to anticipate every single need instead of just allowing them to feel their feelings, begin to understand, because we understand also with babies that that is a communication system. So moms will often learn, what's an angry cry, what's a hungry cry, what's a sleepy cry, and they communicate through their emotions. But just imagine if they suppress those, how would we ever know what they needed? So, just like babies, we are emotional beings, and it doesn't stop when we're, children, it goes throughout our lives. And so we have to learn to embrace and love that part of ourselves so that we can release the emotion and then our frequency naturally raises. So if you look on the scale that was presented in the video that I did on frequency, you will see that at the bottom is shame and then guilt. Well, shame and guilt are emotions that we do not like to feel. They are very uncomfortable, but they are so important. And so, in this class and in life, it is really important to know how to sit with shame and guilt and allow ourselves to feel that way until it goes. And it doesn't have to be super dramatic, it doesn't have to be for a very long time, but we need to start allowing ourselves to feel these things, allowing ourselves to feel sad when we feel sad and to feel angry when we feel angry, and all the different emotions, because they are also frustration, resentment. And when we can pinpoint how we are really feeling in certain situations, it's amazing how quickly those feelings can release and our frequency just naturally starts to raise. And again, when our frequency raises, then the world around us changes because people on that lower frequency start to not have access to anymore. We're changing the radio station and they're still on the old station. So as long as we don't stay on that station, and that takes time to learn, we have to, it's a whole new way of looking at the world. But that is what this class will be about as well, is how to little by little learn to start changing that and to start embracing that without having to have anything else in our world change except us. So that is a little bit about what the third class will be about, and we will continue to use those tools throughout the rest of the class. And so I'll be right back today with the last video, which is going to be about what do we want? And so I will see you shortly. Thank you for your time.